Hi, I'm Bachi and I'm here with Keith, Gabriel, and John. In this video, we're going to help you and fellow high school students with the necessary skill that you will need when undertaking your advanced or standard HSC English examination. We are talking textual analysis. To explain it easier and for your understanding, we are using the concept for 2016, which is belonging. The text we will be referring to is Romulus My Father. This text is a memoir written by Raymond Gaita, and as the title says, he was the son of Romulus. The question in context for the analysis is, how can composers use language forms and features to explore a sense of belonging and or not belonging? You can view our sample answers within the handouts. To answer the question, the video is broken into 4 sections. Section 1 with me, which will cover the concept of belonging. Section 2 with John, which will cover belonging within the book. Section 3 with Gabriel, which will cover how to analyze as well as setting, and Section 4 with Keith, which outlines character development and literary techniques. Firstly, what is belonging? As I said earlier, belonging is a concept. It is not so easy to define. Rather, it's a changing idea based on perspective. It can be seen as a negative or it can be seen as a positive, but the beauty is there is no right and there is no wrong way of perceiving belonging. A way that is easy for you to grasp what belonging is through its synonyms: acceptance, affiliation, security, inclusion, being the positive connotations, and negative being alienation, isolation, defiance, or disconnection. You don't need a philosophical understanding of belonging, but this foundation is enough to help you gain momentum to tackle the analysis confidently.
Chapter 5 begins with Raymond discussing his relationship with Miss Lily and Miss Collard, with whom he first heard Elvis Presley, much to their disapproval. The key part in this section that relates to belonging is where Raymond says, "I first heard Elvis Presley singing All Shook Up on the radio on one such evening that I noticed a bemused tolerance at my enthusiasm for his kind of music." This indicates not belonging due to the juxtaposition of two completely opposing paragrams, this being the very old and the very young. In this section, Gaita used the term bemused tolerance to add more credibility to what it was that he was saying, as opposed to saying Elvis sang about hating old people and Miss Lily hated Elvis. Another key factor in this chapter that relates to belonging is when Raymond sets out to shoot rabbits, feeling disapproval and exclusion, as all the boys in his neighborhood already did so. He finds out that he can't bring himself to shoot the rabbits, as he has such a profound sense of belonging with the environment. This part is very significant, as both signs of belonging and not belonging are shown. He feels like he needs to shoot the rabbits to fit in, but can't bring himself to do so, and feels a sense of belonging to the environment.
So for how to write an analysis on a text, which in this case is Romulus My Father, you would first have to include the location of the extract within the text that you are analyzing. This is so that the person reading your analysis would know where exactly this extract can be found in the text. Secondly, you would have to write about the techniques that you found in your extract and give reasons as to how that part of the extract expresses that technique. You would then have to write about how the author, in this case Raymond Gaita, used the various techniques to convey meaning and or expression, and what is the effect of this technique used within the extract. An example from Romulus My Father I decided to analyze was from page 82 to 83. The techniques I found from this extract were metaphor and foreshadowing. The metaphor that I found from this extract was when Romulus pitied Mitru, believing he was calling something he could not control. From this, we see that Romulus believes that his wife Christine is something that is uncontrollable, which tells the reader that there is something unstable about Christine, which is hinted by Romulus when saying that Christine has a promiscuous nature that even he couldn't handle and nor will Mitru be able to handle. Foreshadowing was also present within this extract, when Romulus believed that Mitru's involvement with Christine would cause him considerable pain and perhaps consume him. This is then backed up later in the text, when Mitru's involvement with Christine ended up leading him to committing suicide. It is through the part where Romulus hints that Mitru's involvement with Christine would perhaps consume him that readers are hinted of the events that will eventually unfold throughout the text. In regards to the concept of belonging, this extract and the techniques used in it express the negative side of belonging and how trying too hard to fit in could make things work but can be negative, which is later shown through Mitru's death. When it comes to analyzing a setting within a text, you would have to consider the following aspects: the main setting, the mood, the atmosphere, and the detailed descriptions of the setting. The main setting is the primary place and time period where majority of the action occurs. For example, in the beginning of chapter 6 of Romulus My Father, the primary place is set in Melbourne, and with the time period being 1954. After you find the main setting, you have to evaluate the mood of the extract. The mood provides a backdrop for the character's involvement in the world around them and creates the overall tone for the extract. In the case of Chapter 6 of Romeo's My Father, when Raymond was to meet with Michu and his mother at the train station, but they did not turn up, however, this sets a negative tone as it shows the lack of care from Michu and Raymond's mother, knowing that Raymond was waiting for them to pick him up. The next step you would have to take in analyzing the setting is assessing the atmosphere of the text/extract. When assessing the setting, you consider the immediate surroundings, including the geographical location and the date, and how they affect the overall atmosphere of the text/extract. Furthermore, in the chapter, we see that when Raymond mentions that he went to Melbourne to spend time with his mother and Michu, we can deduce that he is in a foreign area which alienates him, as he is not a resident of the area but a mere visitor. Lastly, you would have to examine the details of the text/extract, such as the weather and the natural surroundings, which provides clues as to the emotional condition of the characters. From this, the word summer is used to indicate that a scorching climate is present at the time of Raymond's arrival in Melbourne, which would hinder him from doing much physical activity. Raymond also mentions how he visited Melbourne to spend some of his holiday with his mother and Michu. This shows through the word holiday that Raymond waited a long time for the school break to seize an opportunity to adhere to his family's sense of belonging to spend time with his mother.
Character analysis is an important part of analyzing a text. There are a few steps you can take to ensure you do a good character analysis. First, you identify the type of character you're dealing with: a protagonist, an antagonist, a minor character, or a major character, or a dynamic or static character. Then you describe the character and discuss conflict in the story, particularly in response to the character's place in it. Where does your character fit in? For example, in Chapter 6, it can be seen that Christina is both a physically and emotionally absent mother. Gator writes, as so often before, she lay in bed reading a magazine and listening to the radio. She quarreled with Mrs. Fisher, who reprimanded her for not caring for her baby. Look at the handout to see how I analyze a character from Chapter 6. Literary techniques are used in text to express artistic meaning through the use of language, e.g. a hyperbole or a metaphor. It is used to better convey a message or tell a story, e.g. providing a more vivid image of the story, and in this case, representing the concept of belonging. In Chapter 6, Raymond writes, my mother felt very ill with severe asthma attacks. I remember seeing her from outside, framed by the open window, sitting up in bed, gasping for breath, her chest heaving as she vainly sought relief with the spray she inhaled. This gives us a vivid image of the scenes that Raymond sees.